So hi everyone, we're Keto with Plants.
Hi, I'm Stephanie. This is Dr. Mike.
And one of the things that we find helpful when dealing with clients and patients is techniques to help facilitate change, behavior change specifically, and that's actually Stephanie's area of specialty. She's a health coach, and maybe some of you have not ever heard of that term. So I thought it would be good if she kind of shared with us what exactly it is, what does she do, and what are the tricks of her trade, so to speak.
Yeah. So I guess I was drawn to this health coaching world from trying to change myself and deciding, oh my gosh, this is so hard to change. Where do I start? What do I do? What's the first step? I just was having a hard time, this is what I'm supposed to do, and white knuckling it and using willpower, and it was just impossible. And then I would see his patients, he's a brilliant physician and would give them all these things, they had to do that, make the changes themselves, like in lifestyle, and start exercising and eating certain things or avoiding certain things. A lot of times it was change what you're doing, to quit smoking, do this, that, or the other, or you're going to die. And they wouldn't change. They would be like, they would go back to it, and I would look at him and I'm like, how does that not make you crazy? And it does. But he says, yeah, that's pretty much how it works. The going rate's like 10% of people will change, even when faced with life or death.
Even with
correct?
life or death.
And
yeah.
It's something like quit eating ice cream, right? And so I just couldn't wrap my head around this. I mean, I did see that it was hard for me, but my life wasn't on the line, and I thought, well, certainly I'd be able to change if my life was on the line, couldn't I? But it's really hard to change, so I don't know, maybe I couldn't. So the whole idea just really fascinated me, and I was just so wanting to figure out what it takes to get someone to change. And I really wanted to help myself change, so I wanted to learn how to change and become an expert, because whenever I learn something new, I want to become an expert. And that's one of the things I learned in my training, was to find your clients and your own character strengths so that you can use those character strengths to change. So you can kind of custom tailor what works with them if you do what's in line with their character strengths. So my number one was love of learning, that I found out officially and formally, which was no surprise. So what I do is I read all these books I could possibly get on mindfulness tricks, learning to cultivate willpower nonstop. I'm reading about 5 books at all times. I read while I walk the dog, I read before I go to bed, but just a little bit here and there, and when I look back at a year later, I've read 20 books or something, so it's...
20 books in like a month.
Well, no.
Yes.
Maybe 5. Anyway, I don't sit down and read for hours at a time, but that's part of my change strategy, is little steps. So I read a book on Kaizen. So it's a Japanese.
What?
Kaizen. Now I've got the big fancy words.
Can you explain
It's only
that?
2 syllables, at least this one, but so basically it's making teeny tiny changes towards a bigger change. So baby steps, basically. And I think it's really comforting, because you don't have to just innovate, cut down your whole life, rework everything, throw away all the this, the that, immediately stop today, never eat another piece of meat in your life, or whatever it is, or, can be really hard, and it's hard to do, it's hard to maintain. So what I like to do, to teach my clients, and for myself, it's easier, and it's been proven that when you make small changes towards a big change that add up to a big change, those are more permanent. So that's what we want. So
what are some of the aspects of making the small change that makes it better? I mean, is it easier to do a small change? Is that one of the reasons why?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So you make a small change, so you set your goals almost ridiculously small. If you want to start running on a treadmill for 20 minutes a day, you would just get on the treadmill. that day.
Just stand on it.
Well, or you might even just clear off all the clothes that are hanging on it first, right? Keep the clothes off of it. So then the next week you're gonna just stand on the treadmill every day at whatever time in the morning. So it's something ridiculous. So all you're doing is it's so ridiculous you can't not fail. You have to make it that small.
So it's almost like by design you're making it so success happens then.
Exactly.
Okay.
So then one little success begets another success. It builds, confidence in yourself. And, just like with bad behavior, it's maybe starts small, like even with drug addiction. I mean, that's a big thing, but it starts really small, in school they might try a cigarette or whatever, and it's just these little teeny changes they make, and each one of those little changes kind of leads you, and pretty soon it makes a downward spiral into addiction, oblivion, whatever. So an upward spiral works the exact same way. I mean, it's a spiral. It's it builds momentum. It's the same thing. And each win you have with achieving the ridiculously small goal you set for yourself, it makes you hungry for another and another and another. And they're not so overpowering that they're cutting into your life, because we mentioned earlier that our human nature, we're afraid to change. So also with these small changes, you can kind of sneak in the change without triggering that fear response you have to, whoa, change is happening. So if you just do little ones, I call it tiptoeing around the dragon of fear that change, wakes up. So
And it's almost like even just the intention of change would be a step.
Right, yes, just being aware that you need to change. That's a one step. But yeah, even the intention, you want to move it to some action a little bit. But even it's like somebody with anxiety, even if they're I have a client who is too afraid to take a public yoga class. So I had them go just sit in the parking lot and be like, okay, I made it to the class at the time I wanted, watch the people go in and out, go home. So you've already kind of, that's a big, you kind of just get closer to what you actually want each time. You're kind of wearing a trail, just kind of trading. So those are some things. So say if you wanted to change your diet, what I have my clients usually start with is adding to their diet. So rather than let's stop eating such and such. So right now the first change you're making is already a restriction. Nobody wants a restriction. So I like to add my green smoothie. I have a green smoothie. We want to get more leafy greens in people's diets. It's really easy to grab, throw a half a bag of spinach in a blender with 6 strawberries, some fatty oils. You might as well get some good fat in there. And just add to the diet. That's sure I can add to my diet. But this smoothie with all these greens, it satisfies a lot of phytonutrients. The body gets satisfied, and it automatically kind of craves less. But then you're also just setting the tone for something healthier, and then you start to kind of just drift that way. It's interesting. So it's kind of fun. Of course, you'd rather add something than start cutting things away immediately.
So it sounds like
those are some little tricks.
So some of the things you're doing are making it, bite-sized, incremental. You're ensuring success, and you're using more of a positive enhancement rather than more of a punitive approach.
Exactly. Exactly. Right.
Okay.
And then when you do fail, when you do make mistakes, I would check in with a client every week or 2 weeks or whatever. And so rather than saying, well, what about the days that you didn't do blah, 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 what went wrong? They'll be like, oh, I only got to the gym 1 day this week instead of, I know we said I was going to go 3, but I only got there once. Okay, well, let's talk about this one day. What went right that day? What allowed you to get to the gym? And we focus on all the things that went right rather than, what kept you the other days. So it's just okay, let's do more of this rather than, next time go more. It's okay, show me what happened on that day that you did go. Let's do more of that.
So I would say that it's pretty uniform that people are going to slip up, and despite however easy the goals are and how motivated they may be, they're not going to consistently do it every time.
No,
would
nobody.
You say?
Really, I don't think anybody does that.
So how do you handle the slip-ups? What are the approaches that you take for people that say, hey, I messed up, it's easy to kind of get really down on yourself and self-critical when that happens. So how do you handle that?
Yeah, it is easy. I go to the awareness aspect of it. You're aware that you slipped up, so you can celebrate that. So I do try not to get hung up too much on the slip ups. You don't want to start berating yourself, and you can kind of give up on the whole thing. So I really try to maybe be prepared. You might look at a little bit like, how did you slip up? Oh, I ate at my friend's kid had a birthday cake, and I ate a big piece of the cake or whatever. So we're like, okay, so then let's create a plan for the next time this might come up.
Okay.
Because
So you help them be more proactive for those events in the future.
Right. And we look at slip-ups as a learning experience. Like, that would be a learning experience. You might have felt like ambushed by the cake, or whatever, or you underestimated how difficult that would have been for you, or we look at things a little bit like from a curiosity perspective of how we can plan for that next time.
Learn.
Mm-hmm.
And what about self-compassion? Does that play a role in this?
Yeah, absolutely. If you just think you're a despicable, lazy, undisciplined person, you're going to punish yourself. You're going to be like, forget this is too hard. So I really focus a lot on the self-compassion. So that's, I think, the first thing I usually have my clients do is start a gratitude journal. Just gratitude and small victories, because then a lot of people think they don't accomplish anything, or they're failures or whatever. So a small victory of even like, oh, I didn't give in to grabbing those Doritos when I was, at the checking out getting gas or whatever. Like, put that in your small victory. Celebrate that you didn't get those Doritos, or, whatever it is. You can be grateful that you have a roof over your head. I mean, it can be as basic as that, but just starting in that just kind of cultivates a kinder mindset. But I think, self-compassion is the first thing I probably work on with clients, because you need to feel like you're worth the effort of the change.
Yeah, and we all are.
And when you're overweight, you're feeling tired, especially the standard American diet. We're all feeling lethargic and cloudy, and you're gonna have self-loathing, because that's just a crappy way to feel. So that's something I work on first, is self-compassion.
Yeah, and the gratitude journal, Stephanie got me started on that, and I have to say, it is profound, the effect that it's had, both for me personally and with patients. I mean, it's a minute? You can do it really quickly.
Right.
It doesn't have to be this, write a tome every day.
No.
Sometimes I probably only spend 30 seconds.
Even if you write one sentence, just getting in that vibe. And there's science on it. I didn't make this up. There's a lot of science on gratitude.
But I'll just share my experience. It's amazing what a difference it makes to routinely do a gratitude journal. Wow.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah.